Oh, hello, hello, and happy Wednesday. Can you believe it already? Nearing the end of April. And isn't it wonderful? We just had Easter. I hope everybody had a wonderful time if you celebrate. It was wonderful. And we're slowly getting some nicer weather here. So, as always, yes, just double checking volume to make sure everything is cool. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today. Make sure I turn that off. Yes, hello. It is wonderful to see you all. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Michael Smith, the National Education Manager of Janome Canada. And yes, I am back here. Ah, lovely, with my sister Deb watching. Hello, hello. Yes, back here for National Serger Month. You know, April has been going by very fast, but it's been wonderful to come back each week to share with you more little serger tips and tricks. There's such a fabulous addition to any sewing room, any sewing space, regardless of what kind of sewing that you do. Sergers are for everyone, not just garment sewing. So today I'm going to share with you some of the optional accessories that you can purchase from your fabulous Janome dealer that will fit virtually every serger. The cool thing about the Janome sergers, they all take the same foot control, for example. So here I have two machines, but I have one foot control that I just swap out the plugs. It's the same foot control. And same with the accessories. They're pretty much all the same. There are a few exceptions with our new Mylock 454D serger. That has some specific accessories to it, but almost everything. You can go to our handy Janome Accessory Catalog. Go on to janome.ca, janome.com, and yes, you'll be able to. There are 4 pages of accessories, all for your serger. So I can share this little in closer detail with you in a bit, but we can go visit our fabulous Janome dealer as soon as I finish this presentation. And then you can see all the fabulous accessories available for your serger. Yes, my messy sewing room. You don't want to see all that. So here again, I'm sewing on my fabulous FA4. That's a free arm serger. As you can see here, I can remove this little extension table to reveal a free arm. And then, yes, our fabulous top-of-the-line AT2000D air thread serger. But again, the sergers are more similar than they are different. So don't get all hung up about, oh, my serger doesn't look quite the same. Again, most of these accessories will fit all Janome sergers. Double-check the Janome Accessory Catalog, again, on the respective Janome websites, and it says Overlocker Accessories. Page 37 in particular is where it starts. Now, the question came up last week, are sergers and overlockers like the same? Yes, technically overlocking. We are overlocking the edge of the fabric, overlocking that edge with our thread. So technically, the real mechanical term is overlocker. I find it's a more European term. In North America, we refer to them as sergers, but they're the same. So again, feet like cording feet, there's 2 different cording feet. And in the accessory catalog, they share with us the part number, and then they tell us what machines they're compatible with. Again, there's so many different things like this blind hem foot. So yes, we can do a blind hem on the sewing machine, but also on the serger. How about a elastic gathering attachment? Or again, another cording foot, a beading foot. So yes, even a string of pearls we can put on garments or cosplay home deck projects. Even tote bags we could put on a string of pearls, or I love using this foot with yarn to couch yarn, which again we can do on our sewing machines, but now we can do it on our serger. So then let's see, we also have, oh yes, 2 different sizes of piping feet, a cloth guide, and a gathering attachment. There are so many accessories. There's a couple of more as well. But just as a sneak peek, make sure you check out the Janome Accessory Catalog. There's so much more. So where I left off last week, remember I was talking about gathering, and I showed you some advanced techniques of gathering. Remember in the old days where we had to do our two long basting stitches of thread, and then we would pull to gather the fabric, and we hoped and prayed that that thread would not break. So now instead, oh no, we can gather on our serger. Look how beautiful that is. Or again, this other sample. Now, how the rate of gathering, again, depends on your fabric and your differential feed, your stitch length. And again, you can go back last week to review. I've set up my serger again for gathering, and we tighten up our needle tension. In this case, it's a number 8. And then I've lengthened my stitch length to a number 5, and my differential feed is at 2. And what that is going to do is help me gather in more, foot control. That helps me gather more fabric in, pushes more fabric. So just by a few simple adjustments, boom, we can gather on our serger. So isn't that gorgeous? And again, you can go back to last week's presentation for more of advanced techniques like gathering. But what if we want to do more? For example, we want to gather, this could be the edge of, this could be curtains, this could be a garment, this could be even the edge of a quilt. We want to gather, but we want to put it onto a flat piece of fabric. So again, imagine this as pillow shams, as a dust ruffle, as a quilt, or again, it could even be a tote bag, or imagine this is the shoulder and this is your sleeve cap. How cute is that? Or maybe you're going to gather up a skirt and then this is the bodice, so it's flat. So how do we do that? The fabulous serger gathering attachment. It is so simple, but so effective. Now, the cool thing is about, again, almost all of these attachments will fit on almost all of these sergers. So double check our accessory catalog and check with your Janome dealer. They either have these in stock or they can order for you. Oh, and Sandra Gilmer's here. Hello, hello. So the cool thing is when we open up our side looper cover here on our sergers, does your serger have a little screw at the front? And I believe every one of them does. If not all, then almost all, but I believe all of them do have this little screw. So what we're going to do, as you can imagine, now these all come in blister packs like this. Full instructions will always be on the back. But basically, it's so simple. We just tuck this in here and tighten up this screw, and this gathering attachment is going to allow us to gather one piece of fabric. Look at all those beautiful even gathers onto a flat piece of fabric. So what I always love to do, make all your little test samples first with all your little scraps of fabric here. So what I like to do is just get my fabric started. Just do a couple of stitches with the serger to get it started. I can even rotate the balance wheel to drop the needle in. And then you see how this, so your strip that you want to gather, it's typically longer since it's going to gather. It is going to go on the bottom closest to your feed dog, right side up. This little gathering attachment, do you see how it just swings in and it clips under the presser foot there? So this is going to help bypass to not gather this top layer. And again, I love how our sergers, we can tip up the toe of that foot, and I'm going to get my top layer right in there to my needle, and then away I go. And then again, this is so simple where I'm gathering, you see, I'm gathering this lower piece of fabric while I'm stitching it on to this top layer, this flat piece of fabric. So we're not doing it in 2 stages, which is what you would do on a regular sewing machine. You would On a regular sewing machine, you'd gather this first and then you'd insert it in between layers. Here we go. Look at all that beautiful even gathering, but look at how beautiful that is. Nice and flat here, but all beautifully gathered there, all in one step. All the raw edges done, beautiful. Isn't that gorgeous? Such a time saver. So sergers, again, could be for garments, could be for home deck, crafting, whichever. Such a time saver. And again, this gathering attachment, so simple. It just gives you more for your serger. And again, will fit almost every Janome serger out there. So double check the accessory catalog and your dealer for more information. So that is more of gathering. It's one of my most favorite things to do on the serger. So then something else that looks kind of similar but very effective. This is actually my most favorite accessory. And again, attaches with that little screw, just like the gathering attachment. This, do you see, it's got a couple of notches here, is a movable guide. There's a little screw that you can tighten in place. And what this is the serger cloth guide. Now, in our sewing machines, we have cloth guides that help us with our piecing, like our quilt piecing, or if we're hemming, we want a nice deep hem and we want parallel lines of stitching, we move the cloth guide on our sewing machine. Well, here, this is a cloth guide for our serger. Again, attaches just with that little screw here. And then I have this adjustable guide. So on our looper covers, we have markings. For example, there's a 5/8 of an inch marking here on my AT2000D. And I can line up this little fence with that 5/8 of an inch and then tighten this top screw up here. So then I'm doing my commercial patterns. If I am a garment sewer, I've got my knife blade engaged. Oh, and I can get rid of, I don't need that same adjustment. I can turn my tensions back to 3, turn my stitch length back to 3. I'll do differential feed at 1. So simple to adjust your serger. So I do have the knife blade engaged. So if you're adapting a commercial pattern at which is 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, you don't want to just finish the edge of the fabric off. That means your garment's actually going to be bigger. What you need is to, from the left hand needle position of your serger, again, you could use your right needle as well. I'm just using my left. But from the left hand needle position over to the 5/8 inch line, we need to trim away some of our seam allowance because, again, it assumes we're on a sewing machine, but we can adapt that pattern easily on the serger. We just need to make sure that our needle is at the 5/8 inch seam allowance, and the rest of the seam allowance we can trim away. So by having this cloth guide up here with the notch of my looper cover, look how fast and easy and accurate that is. So I know that instead of that big 5/8 inch seam allowance, now I have about a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, which is fine. The main thing is that, again, the garment's going to fit correctly. So the cloth guide, so simple. So at 5/8 of an inch, but again, oh, maybe we are a quilter and we want help with our piecing. So then we would move the cloth guide. We could measure from our left needle position over to this metal fence. And then that could be of our 1/4 of an inch. So instead, and again, most of the time it's about where the knife blade is. So we may not be trimming anything. So this is how we could do all of our quilt piecing at a 1/4 of an inch very accurately just by moving this adjustable cloth guide. So simple, so easy. And again, when everybody asks, oh, what's the part number for that cloth guide? let me find it here in my accessory catalog. And you see there are two different part numbers here, and it tells you some specific model numbers that the cloth guide, because there was a few different iterations of this cloth guide, and it'll tell you which ones, which machines fit each of these cloth guides. And again, double check with your dealer. But again, lots of information in that accessory catalog. I can't give out all the part numbers during my lives. That will just take way too long. So you can consult the accessory catalog and then say to your dealer, hey, I want that serger cloth guide. It is so simple, so easy. It's so wonderful. So again, increase your accuracy, whatever kind of sewing you're doing. Now, when I mentioned gathering, here's another type of gathering attachment. This is the elastic gathering attachment. And again, you can see how this is just going to attach in that same little screw at the front of the machine. Now, the cool thing is this elastic gathering attachment, and again, it'll come in a blister pack like this, and it'll have all the instructions in the back. There's a little trap door that you open, and this is how you set your elastic in here. And then you close the little trap door like that, lock it in place. And you see there's an adjustable screw at the top here. So this will help. We can move this guide. This is about 1/4 of an inch thick elastic, or 1/4 of an inch wide elastic. I can go up even wider to about, I think it's oh gosh, what is it? About 3/8 of an inch is what I typically do. I know it's always in millimeters. I would have to look at the back of the blister pack in millimeters of what that is. But again, it's about 3/8 of an inch wide elastic. Here is 1/4 of an inch wide elastic. So we can move this guide, loosen the screw, and move the guide so it's perfectly in line as we're surging along. This will keep the elastic exactly where we want it. Now we can tighten up this little screw. This will drop the edge of the screw against the elastic, so it'll give us more pressure on the elastic. The more pressure on the elastic, the more it will gather in, the more it will stretch. So there's lots of adjustments we can make. And again, full instructions in the back of the blister pack. So I will, because I'm trying to be nice and quick here, there's always so much to demo. I will just attach that in, so easy. Lock that into place. And then for our elastic, look at that, how beautiful when it's all nice and flat. And then it gathers up perfectly. So what I always suggest doing, you leave yourself extra elastic at the back to help you feed this through. And I'm not sure if you can see through here. Do you see my little tick marks on my fabric? I purposely made them in the felt tip marker so you could see them. But yes, that we're going to quarter our elastic, the same as we would when we're sewing this on the sewing machine, where again, we would fold our elastic. If this is on a waistband, for example, we're measuring our waist, and then we are then again just determining the center, and then we determine the side seams, or whatever kind of ratio you want. But that's typically what we do. We make these little quarter marks, and then we make the same quarter marks on our fabric. So then I know then where to line these tick marks up with the tick marks on my fabric. So I don't sew. Oh, but it's wonderful that it's like, yes, even if you're a beginner sewer, you too can do these techniques. So simple. The machine and the presser feet, the accessories, do most of the heavy lifting for you. You follow the instructions and you're good to go. Like a little bit of practice and you're an expert once you do this a time or two. So my fabric is going under the elastic gathering attachment here, and then my elastic is going to go over. And again, I just close that little trap door, position my little guide exactly where I want it to. And now I always like to, again, make my elastic a little bigger. That I like to cut my elastic a little longer. So then I get it started. I can help pull it just to get it started. And once I get it started, you see I have a pin here holding my elastic. Well, I definitely don't want that pin in my serger. So let me remove that I know I've got it anchored. Definitely we don't want pins with our serger. And you see then I'm just stretching this little tick mark so it lines up. There we go. Am I through? There, I'm through. Okay, then this lines up with that little tick mark. Now I could maybe pin this, or again, I'm just going to hold it. So once I get to my tick mark, I can just stretch to my next tick mark. So again, you would have this either in the ratio as far as your elastic. You would have that in your pattern if this is a garment, or if you're doing this is going to be a pillow ruffle, or example, and you're just making this on your own. This is where you experiment. I did my flat piece of fabric, I think about 1.5 inches bigger than the gaps in between my tick marks. I think are about 1.5 inches more than the tick marks of my elastic. So this is going to be a more subtle, and again, leave yourself longer elastic so you've got this little tail so you can help pull it taut. And then you could just run this through, or again, now I'm done my fabric. I just open my little trap door and I can just serge right off. So again, this is more of a subtle gather. This could be, I could do these, the gaps in between the tick marks really long, and in which case more would gather in, but isn't that gorgeous? Now I'm using my, again, left needle. I could be using my right as well, but I just, I tend to favor my left needle, I guess. But you see all that beautiful stretch and perfectly even gather. I agree. Isn't it genius? Yes, I'd like to say I'm the genius, but no, it was the genius of the Janome engineers that developed this elastic gathering attachment. Isn't that beautiful? So again, this could be the sleeve cap in your cute little summer dress that you're making, or this could be a little skirt. You see my beautiful Barbie here. There I have my rolled hem. Again, this could be a cute little Barbie skirt. Boom, it's all elastic, gathered, beautiful. So simple to do. This could be a ruffle on the edge of, again, a quilt or a pillow. So even a tote bag. So it could be garments as well as home decor, quilting, crafting. So that's the elastic gathering attachment. It's so simple, so fun to do. So then let's go over with my time. I wanted to show you one of my all-time, oh, actually, no, before I move, I've got one more. Again, one more demo. I won't be able to demo all these accessories, but again, you'll see plenty, and always go double check with your Janome dealer. Oh, the fabulous Amy Meek is here. Hello, hello. So you see, I just have on our regular sewing machines, you know, we have our little lever on the back that'll just quickly disengage the foot. So I've taken off my regular serger foot, and instead, what I'm going to get is the piping feet. They come as a set of 2, and conveniently, do you see the mark 1/8 of an inch up here, 1/8 of an inch, or 3/16, which is just 1/16 bigger. So yes, I'm demonstrating on the AT2000D air thread serger. So you'll see the grooves, but Janome has a number of sergers in their line. This is the top of the line machine, but again, they're more similar than they are different. So double check your dealer. There's a serger for everyone. Do you see the grooves on the back side? The 1/8 inch has a more narrow groove. The 3/16 has a bigger groove. And what I love doing is I take these feet, first you purchase them from your fabulous Janome dealer, and then you go to your craft store and you want to make sure that you get your filler for your piping that will fit. this groove. So what I do is I take, again, the foot to the craft store, and I see, will the piping, will the filler, the cord, go through. In this case, for my 1/8 of an inch, well, this cord is way too big, but it'll fit under, there we go, it'll fit under my foot here, no problem at all. So you just see, I get some of my cords as well, yes, at the fabric store, but also at the home improvement store, the hardware store, I get some of this cording. And yes, then we can make our piping just as is to create the piping, and then we can insert this into 2 layers of fabric, either with our sewing machine, or maybe we just want the piping just as is, like this. I could make a little tie with it. Speaking of piping, that yes, on this tote bag, can you see right here, this accent of piping? I made it, this whole tote bag I made on the serger, except for the top stitching, but the construction of the bag, including that pieced pocket, I did on the serger. So I made the piping, but yes, we can also insert the piping in between our 2 layers of fabric here. It's all beautifully finished, no raveling. And again, I did it all in one step. So we could do just the piping, and how big you cut this is all personal preference. This is about a 2-inch wide strip. I like making the strips a little bigger. And again, same thing, you want, just like your elastic, you want to leave your tail of your cording a little longer, get it into the groove under the foot, and then you want it a little longer so then you can help pull it through to get it started. I do like cutting my fabric for my piping. Again, I can cut it bigger. In this case, it's about 2 inches because I'm just going to trim it off, as you see. So it really doesn't matter what thickness or what width your fabric is, because you're just going to trim it off anyway. So there, I run that through, and then I can run that off. So boom. So look at that beautiful piping. Now, you definitely want to use your left needle position with your piping feet, because that left needle is going to be closer to your piping. So isn't that gorgeous? So I can make the piping in one step, or just as I did on with the elastic gathering, or with the gathering attachment, I can make the piping while I'm inserting it in 2 pieces of fabric. Again, right side up for our bottom layer, we fold over our strip, matching the raw edges. Again, we keep our cording a little bit longer and get this all lined up. And again, you won't have the pressure of a camera in front of you and doing this, trying to be quick, because as always, the time goes by really fast. So there, I've got my layers right sides together. Pull back a little bit, you'll see a little more. So I've got, again, my lower layer is right side up. I'm folding my fabric here over my cording. The cording is under the groove of the foot. And then I top it with my fabric here, lower my foot. And again, this works out so well. You just get it started, and you see how I can just go line up all my raw edges. That groove in the bottom of the foot really acts as like a third hand, keeping my piping exactly where I need it, keeping that cord in the middle exactly where I need it. My raw edges are all lined up beautifully. Look at that. How beautiful that is. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? All within the seam. Like beautiful. All done within the seam. So we can do the piping all on its own, or we do, again, we can create the piping and put it in between the two fabric layers all at the same time. Isn't that cool? So yes, lastly, very quickly, one of my favorite feet is the beading foot. And you'll see this is the beading foot. There's a little notch there at the side of the foot. So this is where, again, you take, that comes in a blister pack, there's the beading foot, and an attachment that this is a groove to keep the line of beads exactly where you need it. So it's going to line up, do you see, like that. So the beads or the yarn will go through here and it'll go under this little notch in the foot. So these two come together in the blister pack, and again, full instructions in the back of how you will do it. And this is where you, again, you get your foot and you go to the craft store and you see, oh, these string of pearls, for example, are way too big, so I couldn't use those. But I could use a variety, of some of this yarn. I love yarn couching on the sewing machine, but the couching foot on the sewing machine doesn't like these little slubs, or this yarn is too thick and fuzzy for the couching foot on the sewing machine. But I could use this yarn and this yarn with the slubs. I could use it here on the serger. So again, this is just more versatility, more creativity with your serger. This isn't yarn or beads. This is this kind of reflective trim. But because we're not, the needle's not going through it, we're just couching, basically. We're wrapping those looper yarns around this trim or this yarn or these beads. So isn't that cool? Imagine this bling on your sofa, your curtains, your quilts, garments, tote bags, whatever you want to add that little bit of bling. And here we are here, again, the beads that you take the bead, again, take the foot to the craft store. Will that work? Yes, that'll work, no problem. So beads done on the serger. Now here on the FA4, oh, I need to switch over my, I only have one foot control. So again, it's the same foot control for both machines. So that's why I avoid all the cord clutter and I just use one. Now here on the FA4, we have a slightly different configuration. Because we have this extension table we can remove to expose this free arm. So I don't have that front screw. But included, Janome thinks of everything. Included with the FA4 is this bizarre little contraption. And what this is, well, there is the screw that we need that will accept our beading attachment like that, juicy. So with the FA4, this comes included. There's a little notch at the front of the machine. And oops, I gotta get it the right way around. There we go. There's a little notch here. And again, full instructions in the instruction manual. Boom, this is now attached. So I can bring my extension table back in play. But first, I want to attach this beading guide. There we go. And then, oh, where's my little screwdriver? As always, time is my enemy. That I just attach this on. Very cool, like this. So you attach this, then you could bring your extension table, oops, then you can bring your extension table back into play. Once you get that tightened all the way in, then this extension table will click into place. So I'm just going to leave it off so I can see a little better here. But you see my foot rides up, that groove in the foot aligns with this groove. So I can attach the beads. The beads can lay in this groove. Now there again, I would make cut your beads like a longer, and then you can butt this up. Now I've also retracted the knife blade. So make sure that you double check your instruction manual, how you will retract your knife blade. So do you see how this beading attachment, the beads stay in this channel so they align with that groove of the foot perfectly? In this case, I'm just going to put this accent of beads along this trim of fabric. Again, this could be a tote bag, this could be a garment. Imagine a cuff, you know, done like that. How gorgeous is that? A hemline done like that. How gorgeous is that? Or we could also put the beads in a seam, in which case we would do it just the same. Here are my two pieces of fabric. I did it just the same like I did the piping, in that my beads ran through this channel. I had my layers of fabric here, my seam allowance out here, and then ran this through. I don't have the knife blade engaged. And then there, how perfect that is. So even in a seam line, we can attach a string of pearls. So isn't that amazing? So as always, I am out of time, but you could see how, again, I keep losing my screwdrivers. You can see how easily this will detach. You can just move your lower looper cover over so you can detach this. And then again, this elastic gathering attachment, boom, it clicks on exactly the same with that screw. Or then again, the cloth guide, same thing. I can attach the cloth guide and it lines up here with the marks on the looper cover. So it makes it so simple and so easy. Again, Janome thinks of everything. So that, in a whirlwind, is your fabulous accessories, some of the accessories of your sergers. So double check with the, there we go, double check with your Janome Dealer, and double check again our Janome Accessory Catalog so you can see all the accessories that are available for the serger, regardless which serger you have. Again, most of these attachments will fit. Oh, the 1200D was the combo serger and cover hem machine that has its own separate accessories, because that's a very specialized machine. It's the 1200D that has its own accessories, its own cloth guide, its own elastic gathering attachment, and more. So double check again with your Janome Dealer. And it's also included in the accessory catalog. That machine's been discontinued in Canada for a number of years, but I think America still has it, or I know somewhere around the world, Janomes still have them out there. You may still be able to get some accessories for it as well. Even if a machine is discontinued, you may still be able to get those accessories. So double check with your dealer. So thank you, everyone, so much for joining me today. And next week is going to be the last of our Serger School, Janome Serger School presentations. I'm going to go over cleaning and maintenance. As you'll see, I've been using these sergers a lot. So now how are we going to maintain them so they continue working on year after year after year? They're so wonderful and so easy to do. Sergers are not nearly as complicated as people think they are. So I'll show you some quick, easy tips to maintain your serger. So thank you, everyone, so much for joining me today. Have a fabulous day. Bye.